My name is Harold Eugene Calloway, and I'm 83 years old. I've been sitting in this chair for about 20 minutes now, trying to figure out where to start. My daughter set this camera up for me. She thinks I have stories worth telling. I'm not sure about that, but I do have something I want to say. Something I've been carrying around for a few years now, and I suppose I'd like to put it down somewhere before I can't anymore. I'm not sick, not in any dramatic way. I'm just old, and when you get to be this old, you start to feel the edges of things, the edges of time, the edges of what you thought was true. So I want to talk about work, not in the way people usually talk about it, not about success or failure or climbing some ladder. I want to talk about what I gave to it and what I thought I was getting back. I started at Meridian Manufacturing in the spring of 1974. I was 26 years old. My wife Ruth and I had just moved into a small house on Delwood Avenue. We had a baby on the way, our first. We had almost nothing in savings and a leaky kitchen faucet we couldn't afford to fix properly. So I wrapped it in electrical tape and told Ruth it was temporary. A lot of things were temporary back then. When I walked into Meridian for the first time, I remember the smell of the place. Machine oil and floor wax and something metallic in the air that I can still almost smell if I sit quietly enough. I was hired as a junior logistics coordinator, which was a formal way of saying I tracked shipments and filed papers and did whatever the men above me didn't want to do themselves. I didn't mind. I genuinely didn't mind. I was 26. I had a family coming. I had something to prove, though I couldn't have told you then exactly what it was or to whom. Within 3 years, I had been promoted twice. Not because I was the smartest man there. I want to be honest about that. There were men at Meridian considerably sharper than me, but I was reliable. I stayed late when no one asked me to. I came in on Saturdays occasionally, not because anyone required it, but because there was always something unfinished on my desk. And an unfinished thing on my desk bothered me in a way I never fully outgrew. My manager at the time, a man named Dennis Hartwell, once told me in passing that I was the kind of man a company could build around. I held on to that for years, longer than I should have, maybe. Ruth used to say gently, the way she said most things, that I loved Meridian the way some men love a second family. She wasn't wrong. I coached my son's Little League team for 2 seasons and missed more games than I attended because of work travel. My daughter, Karen, the one who set up this camera, she had a school recital when she was in 4th grade, a spring concert. She had a small solo, something simple. She'd been practicing in the kitchen for weeks, humming to herself while she set the table. I missed it. I was in Cincinnati for a supplier meeting that ran 2 days longer than it should have. I called home from a payphone in a hotel lobby, and Ruth told me it went beautifully. She said Karen did wonderfully. She said Karen asked just once if I was coming, and then didn't ask again. That last part, Ruth said quietly, very quietly. I don't think she meant it as an accusation. That wasn't Ruth's way. But I heard it the way you hear something when the rest of the room goes silent. I told myself I'd make it up to her. I told myself that for years. By 1989, I was Regional Operations Director for the entire Midwest Division. It sounds more impressive than it was, but I'll be honest, I was proud of it. I was 41 years old and I had a title on a door and a parking space with my name on a small sign, Harold E. Calloway. I used to arrive early enough sometimes just to see it in the morning light before anyone else got there. That's embarrassing to say now, but I'm trying to be honest. I believed in some quiet and serious part of myself that I had found my place, that Meridian was where I belonged, that the 30, 40 hours a week I poured into that building were building something solid, something that would hold. The 90s were good years at the company. We expanded, new contracts, new facilities, new people cycling through. I trained a lot of young men and women during those years. Some of them went on to outrank me, which didn't bother me. I was proud of them, actually. I thought of them a little like I thought of the company, as something I had contributed to, something that carried a small piece of what I'd put in. Ruth got sick for the first time in 1997. Nothing fatal that time, but it slowed her down. And for a while I adjusted. I came home earlier. I took fewer trips. I sat with her in the evenings instead of bringing work home in my briefcase. And then slowly, the way these things happen, I drifted back. The briefcase came back first, then the late evenings, then the occasional Saturday. Ruth never said much about it. She had a way of accepting things she couldn't change without making you feel forgiven for them. I don't know if that was a kindness or something sadder than that. I've thought about it often in these last few years, and I still don't know. I want to stay with that for a moment, because I think that's where a lot of it lives. Not in the dramatic moments, not in some single terrible decision, but in the drifting, in the slow return to a pattern that felt like necessity, but was probably something else. I told myself the work needed me, and it did need me in the way that work always needs whoever is willing to give it the most. That's not the same thing as being needed. I understand that now, but I didn't then. Or maybe I did, a little, and I looked away. The company changed hands in 2003. A larger corporation out of Atlanta acquired Meridian. There were announcements, meetings, reassurances. The word synergy appeared in every document for about 18 months. I remember sitting in a conference room while a man 20 years younger than me explained, with great confidence, what the future of the company would look like. He didn't know my name. I noticed that. He had a list in front of him, and he looked down at it when he addressed me. Harold. He said it the way you say a word you've just learned in a foreign language. I told myself it didn't matter. I was 55. I had seniority. I had 30 years of institutional knowledge. I knew every process, every account relationship, every fragile arrangement that kept the operation running. That counts for something, I thought. And for a few years it did. They kept me on, slightly reduced in scope, a different title. I trained the new regional team and answered questions and attended meetings where my input was sometimes acknowledged and sometimes simply absorbed into the room without comment. I kept coming in early. I kept staying late. Old habits have a weight to them that's hard to describe to someone who hasn't lived inside one for decades. Ruth died in January of 2006. I'm not going to spend a long time on this because it deserves more than I can give it in this recording, and because some things don't need to be explained to be understood. She was 61 years old. She was the steadiest person I have ever known in my life. She raised our children in a house where their father was frequently absent, and she did it with a patience that I accepted for years as simply the way she was, rather than something she chose every day in spite of everything. I took a leave of absence for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And then I went back. Karen asked me once, about a year after Ruth passed, whether I went back to work so quickly because it helped me or because I didn't know what else to do with myself. I told her it helped me. I've thought about that answer many times since. The second acquisition came in 2009. By then I was 61, and the new ownership had less patience for institutional memory and more interest in efficiency metrics I had never been asked to think about before. My department was restructured. My team was redistributed. I was offered a role that was, in practical terms, a quieter version of what I had done for 30 years, with less authority and a title that no one else in the building seemed to fully understand. I took it. I don't know entirely why. Habit, maybe. Fear, possibly. I had given so much of myself to that place that leaving felt like admitting something I wasn't ready to admit. So I stayed. I came in. I did the work. I answered emails. I attended meetings. I ate lunch alone most days at my desk because the people I had known for decades had either retired or moved on, and the younger staff were kind but not curious about me in the way that would have led to actual conversation. I was furniture, I think, necessary enough to keep but not interesting enough to notice. I retired in the spring of 2013. There was a small gathering in the conference room on the 14th floor. Someone had ordered a cake, a sheet cake with white frosting, the kind you get from a grocery store. It said, "In blue icing, congratulations, Harold, happy retirement." There were maybe 11 people in the room. Some of them I knew well. Most of them I knew only from the last few years, which is to say, I didn't really know them at all. My direct supervisor at the time, a pleasant enough man named Gary, gave a short speech. He mentioned that I had been with the company for a long time. He said I was dedicated. He used the word dedicated twice, which I think means he ran out of other things to say. Someone took a photograph. I have it somewhere. I'm not sure where. I drove home that afternoon and sat in the driveway for a while before going inside. The house was quiet. Karen lived 2 states away by then. My son David was in Portland. I sat in the car and I thought, well, there it is. I wasn't sad exactly. It was something quieter than sad. Something more like a low hum in the chest that doesn't have a name. The following Monday, I woke up at 6:15, the way I had for 39 years. I lay there for a while. I didn't have anywhere to be. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table and looked out at the backyard and tried to remember the last time I had simply sat in the morning without anything waiting for me. I couldn't remember. I received a few emails in the first weeks. Former colleagues saying kind things. A note from Gary thanking me for the transition documentation I had prepared. And then, after a month or so, the emails stopped. Not gradually, they just stopped. I checked a few times in the early weeks whether something had gone wrong with my account, whether there was a technical issue. There wasn't. People had simply moved on to whatever came next, the way people do, the way they have to. I understood that. But understanding something doesn't always change how it settles in you. I want to be careful here about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. I'm not saying the company was cruel. It wasn't. It was simply a company, which is to say it was a structure built to do a thing. And once I was no longer necessary to that thing, the structure had no particular use for me. That's not malice. That's just the nature of what it was. What I'm sitting with all these years later is not anger toward them. It's something more uncomfortable than that. It's the question of what I believed I was building. Because I was there, in that building, for 39 years, and I brought something to it every day. Not just my time. I brought my attention, my worry, my problem solving, my presence. I brought the parts of myself that might have gone other places, and I gave them willingly to something that was never going to be capable of receiving them the way I seemed to need it to. And I knew this. I think I knew this. I just didn't stop. Karen came to visit me about 2 years after I retired. She stayed for a week, and we talked more during that week than we had talked in years. One evening, we were sitting on the back porch after dinner, and she asked me, very carefully, what I missed. I told her I missed having somewhere to be. She was quiet for a moment, and then she said, "Dad, you always had somewhere to be. That was kind of the whole thing." I didn't fully understand what she meant that night. I've thought about it many times since. My son David called me on a Sunday last winter. He called to check in the way he does. He's a good man, David, steady, a little reserved, like I was at his age. We talked for a while about ordinary things, and then he said something that I keep returning to. He said, "I always thought you liked it there, at Meridian. I thought it made you happy." And I said, "I think I thought it did." And there was a pause on the line, and then David said quietly, "Yeah, I think we all thought that." I don't know exactly what he meant by we, but I heard it. I've been trying to understand in these last few years what I was actually doing for all that time. Not the work itself, I understand the work. I was good at the work. But why I needed it the way I did, why I returned to it the way I did, even when Ruth needed me to stay, even when my children were young and growing in ways I was missing, even when some quieter part of me knew that the investment I was making was not going to pay back what I seemed to be expecting from it. I think I was afraid of the alternative. Not of failing, exactly, but of the open space of what I might feel or face or have to be if I wasn't Harold Calloway, Regional Operations Director, 39 years at Meridian Manufacturing. If I was just Harold, just a man, with a family that needed him, and a kitchen faucet that needed fixing, and evenings that needed to be sat through without a briefcase to open. That was the harder thing, and I kept choosing the easier thing all those years and calling it responsibility. Ruth would have said something useful about all of this. She usually did. She had a way of saying one thing. There was actually several things at once, and you'd be driving home or lying in bed that night and suddenly understand what she meant. I think she knew me better than I knew myself for most of our marriage. And I think she spent a good deal of her life being patient with a version of me that I should have outgrown sooner. I wasn't a bad husband. I want to say that, not to defend myself, but because I think it's true. I wasn't unkind. I wasn't reckless with money or cruel or absent in the dramatic ways that make for obvious stories. I was just quietly, consistently somewhere else, even when I was home. A part of me was always back at the office, running a problem through my head, composing an email I'd send in the morning. I don't know if Ruth ever fully had my whole attention for any sustained period. I don't know if my children did either. And that is the thing that lives with me now. Not what the company gave or didn't give, what I gave and where I gave it. I'm 83 years old. I wake up in the morning and I drink my coffee and I sit in this chair and I look out the window at the neighborhood where I've lived for 30 years, and most mornings it's quiet and unremarkable and perfectly good. Karen calls on Sundays. David calls on Wednesdays. They ask how I'm doing, and I tell them I'm fine, which is mostly true. They have their own lives now, full lives, and I'm glad for that. I am genuinely glad for that. But there is something that stays, a question that I don't ask out loud, but that's there in the morning when the coffee is hot and the house is quiet. What would it have felt like to have given all of that to the people who were actually going to be there at the end? Not the company, not the title, not the problem that needed solving before Monday morning, but the people sitting in the room on the day they brought a sheet cake with blue icing and 11 people came. The people who called on Wednesday, on Sunday, the people who waited. I don't have a way to end this neatly. I don't think it ends neatly. I made choices for a long time that felt like the right ones, and then I had a long and quiet retirement to sit with what those choices actually were. And I'm not sure, honestly, that I've finished sitting with it yet. There's a photograph of Ruth somewhere in this house. She's standing in the backyard, mid-laugh, sometime in the late 80s. She's looking at something just outside the frame. I don't remember what. I don't remember if I was the one who took the picture or if I was even there. And that not knowing is its own kind of answer, I think. She looks happy in the photograph. I hope she was. I hope there was enough in what she had to make up for what was missing. I think she deserved better than to have to hope for that. If you've listened this far, I don't have anything to tell you. I'm just an old man who worked a long time and then stopped working and then had to figure out who he was without it. That's not unusual. I know that. But if something in this stayed with you, just sit with it a while. Don't rush past it. Some things are worth the discomfort of staying still.